Hi guys, no filter. I want to have a quick talk with you. Today's topic is about, this is a very interesting thing that came up in my pattern making class the other day. I have a student who is a Yale graduate in graphic design who's in my pattern making class at Parsons as an open campus student. So it's not in a degree program. She wanted to learn more about pattern making, but she has like this beautiful Instagram account. I'm going to keep her privacy right now because but beautiful clothes. She makes beautiful clothes, beautiful fabrics, beautiful point of view, gorgeous. And we were talking about, I was mentioning in class how in my years, I was used to teach in a program at Parsons. Students were required to take that class, whether they were fashion design students or whether they were fashion marketing students, which I think was incredible because fashion marketing students who have to take a design and illustration class really have an edge and a vocabulary and an eye that students who don't have to take a design class would not have. But here's the ticket, is that I was teaching about I don't know if you saw the post I put yesterday from Gary Vee about putting something on a pedestal. They didn't have that like, oh my God, I need to master this and it has to be perfect and it has to be beautiful and I want this more than anything. They didn't have that. Half of every class were students who were not there to study design. They were there to study design marketing. So they didn't expect themselves to be able to draw. They didn't expect to have to take a class like that. And the beautiful part of this story is that the students, and I'm going to tie this back into the student I was just telling you about who's a graphic design major. I'm going to tie it all back up. The students who are marketing students in my fashion design illustration sketching course, more often than not, once I got over my prejudice, in the first few years, I thought, I should give them either switched majors or just exploded, thrived. And actually, I could tag some of those student people too, because they're all like designers here on Instagram. These students who weren't hung up on whether they could draw or not became very, very capable drawers, expressors, designers, thinkers. Tend to put it up there. If you fall in love with someone and you think they're like so amazing, you put them up there. But when you put something up there, you make it separate from you. And the fact is, you need to come back to realizing that. Why is this the case? And I'll take you back again to the Gary Vee's post from yesterday about putting things on a pedestal. Those marketing students, and I know you can't change who you are. You know, when you got a dream and it's big, it is not separate from you. It is a part of you. And in order to allow yourself to become one with it. If you put it up here, it's always kind of unattainable. Those marketing students had no expectation of themselves. Clearly, they loved fashion. They loved beautiful things. But they came with an openness and a willingness to fall down and figure it out. And my whole life doesn't depend on this. And because of that, these students who weren't hung up on whether they could draw or not became very, very capable drawers, expressors, designers, thinkers, because they allowed themselves not to know. How does this tie back into the story about my student the other day who already produces and makes one by one beautiful, one-of-a-kind garments, art garments, incredible? She's like, when I do fashion stuff, I'm always willing to admit what I don't know. I'm always willing to ask for what I need. I'm just open. I said, that's a beautiful ticket. You know, that's the opening. She admittedly said, she's like, in graphic design, because I went to Yale, like, I'm very shy. I'm very scared to admit that I have questions or that I don't know something because I am supposed to know everything. And I'm going to take that one step further while this happens every time I start. It's like there's 1,000 things I want to say to you. So in that same class, I have several students now who are like that. Like they came to take pattern making because they kind of know what they don't know. But at the same time, there's this impulse to focus on what you don't know to such an extent that you are starting to completely ignore what you already do and the value that's in it. Maybe this is a pitfall we all fall into. It's like you got to lose yourself to find yourself. So these students start to show me their Instagram feeds and their lookbooks and the things they've been creating. I'm like, and I thought they were beginners. They've been creating things. For example, one student, I won't share her name, she does these slip dresses. And oh my gosh, she has these incredibly beautiful photo shoots where like and if she thinks, now that's fine if she wants to add trousers and blazers and knits into her collections, that's fine. But when I look at what she's already created, I can't see what's lacking. I can only see this incredible presence. I think a lot of times we lose this ability to see ourselves. This is where having a mentor or a coach or a community can help you see yourself again. It's mirrors. You need to be able to see yourself. So for example, this student who does slip dresses, I mean, think about it. A designer could go forever on slip dresses. I mean, just think about the different fabrics, different proportions, different styles, different finishes, there's no end to what she could do if she only did slip dresses. And also think how well defined that brand would be. And actually she also does some accessories and jewelry. Well, fine, maybe she only does slip dresses with accessories. There's no limit to what you can do, and yet sometimes the more you bring it back, I'm this kind of a person. When I have some constraints, when I have a container, my creativity amplifies and multiplies exponentially. Because totally wide open, omnivorous, like trying to do everything, I'll just go, I get diffused. My energy goes out in every direction, and at some point, sometimes I'm exhausted. But when I have a focus, and then I take that focus and push it into the limit in every direction I can, it's exhilarating, it's beautiful, it's sacred, it's magical. Because I've given myself a small enough space to do deeper discovery within that space. It's just a thought where this resonates for you. And lastly on that topic, when I first started freelancing in the fashion design industry, because of my insecurity, I was very afraid to ask questions at work. I always felt like, I'm supposed to know that, I'm supposed to know that, I'm supposed to know that. The more and more experienced I became, the more and more years I worked, the more confident I became, the more obvious it was to me that my questions were always valid and they were always important and they always made sense to ask. So whether you're beginning in a profession or in embarking on a kind of study, to be honest, your truth is the most disarming thing you have to offer anyone. And so asking a question that is sincere, I don't think anyone can ever judge that because it's sincere. And guess what? Without that answer, without asking, it doesn't make any sense. So I know a lot of us are quarantined now. I know I am. So I have a whole month of work canceled. So my calendar is like very open. I teach it part-time at a lot of schools, and as a part-timer, it's like those classes are canceled and so's the income and blah, blah, blah. So I am opening my coaching calendar. If you click the link here, coaching is, you can do a la carte. I'm doing a special right now where for $400, you pay once, but then you get 4 1-hour sessions with me that you can schedule as needed anytime you want, schedules allowing. And the other piece of the coaching package is if you get Freedom Fashion coaching package, you get my online Freedom Fashion program plus coaching. And the information's in the link here. DM me if you have any questions. I love you. Mwah. Guys, I want to continue a little bit about what we talked about yesterday, which, If you can't see it, I think I'm going to string these all into one long video. It was about putting what we love and want to study or be or do on a pedestal so much so that we separate ourselves so much from it. And also it was about the freedom of doing something that you didn't like totally go to school for. So let me orient you a little bit. So for example, I'm a musician. I took piano growing up for many years, classical piano, and I grew up singing in choirs, but I never went to school for jazz. I really wanted to at one point, but I had been getting straight A's at Parsons, so I was like, do I really want to start over and get more student debt by switching majors to go to the jazz school? No. But I always have this thing where I do get this insecurity that I didn't go to jazz school, or this insecurity about knowing that there's things I don't know, that sometimes it can oppress me and hold me back a lot. But at the same time, it gives me an incredible freedom in my music. It also, I think, enables me to take certain kinds of risks I would never take maybe in fashion. And here's why. This is why I wanted to make this video. Now I remember. Because when I was teaching and having this conversation the other day that I was sharing with you about studying something, what is it? Oh, telling them. So everyone in the class has like this little bit of like shame about what they don't know. And I say, look, you need to know that there isn't one answer for any of this stuff. I'll answer your questions. I'll give you guidance, but don't keep thinking that you don't have what it takes, that you lack some fundamental secret code that everyone else has. It's not true. I've had so many students come through who already so active creating and making, and you could tell they've come now. It's good that you want to get new techniques, new knowledge, new feedback. But the belief that you could have that you need to know everything and that you don't, all these great designers I grew up with, they were just like you or me, except they spend time making. You can't substitute taking a ton of courses for actually doing the work, right? Just making. Even don't take a course, but make things. You'll develop your techniques. And the other side of the sword that I wanted to talk about, when you do go to a school for fashion or music or whatever, based on my own experience studying fashion design, like, yes, I know a million amazing techniques for sewing and draping and pattern making and drawing and all this stuff. That's all really great, but I also know that I have a severe handicap in that I was processed through a system that I can't go back. I can't unprocess myself. I can try, but like I've kind of became a product of a certain way. And whenever I see people who are operating outside of that way, I admire and I wish I had that freedom, that my voice was more innocent or pure and less processed. And I think maybe that's part of what I love about my job, is that I can help people refine what they already have, but I really want to focus on what they already have and let them develop their way. And so in my music career, I can often say, I am aware sometimes I have to do work on beliefs I have that hold me back, because I think, if I went to jazz school, blah, blah, blah. But I also am well aware, because I went to fashion design school, of what freedom and power I have by not having gone to school. And how many fashion designers from the top schools are now, like, I get a lot of clients I can't help when they start their small businesses, because every job I got was massive, corporate, huge, And in those big corporate jobs, you don't even learn the nuts and bolts. You only learn the big corporate job settings, And I'm very much into small business, intimacy, family, community, things where all the moving parts touch each other more. I'm passionate about family. I'm passionate about entrepreneurship spirituality, music, dance, arts. Why? Because these are all journeys. When I started, there was something very specific I wanted to say, and then I started listing. Hang on. I believe, above all, people who do fashion or music, right? They want to make beautiful things. I was talking with a client yesterday during her coach call. Is about her business and her fashion, same time. This has been happening a lot for me lately, like business, fashion, or teaching and fashion coaching. And the thing is that when we make, it's a divine need that we've always had as women, maybe as all humans. It's satisfying. It keeps our life force intact, our desire to live, to make, create. It's a birthright. And I like being in that level of arts, learning, making, where you're in that connection. And that's what I want to create. And entrepreneurship also opens up that setting. Homeschooling also. These are things that are like very uncertain, very challenging, but in a way that you still feel very engaged with life and creativity. And you have to question yourself a lot, but then you find answers, right? And you learn more and more about yourself. So I invite you on those journeys today, just to think that if you think something is holding you back because you didn't go to that school, that degree, that job, notice those thoughts, write them all down so you won't forget them. But put a little distance between you and them. They are not you. Those are beliefs and thoughts and feelings. All of those different levels deserve your attention, but don't let them eat you alive, because there's wiggle room around every thought and every belief, and it's not entirely true. Your desire to create something is the most important. What do you desire to create today? Share with me in the comments.